I used to sleep like a dead weight. That changed in March, after one night left a mark I haven't been able to shake since. The light was on. I remember that. Not mine, but the hallway light. A sharp contrast against the darkness of my bedroom. I don't remember turning it on. My wrist ached, and I was standing still, facing the kitchen. I had no recollection of how I got there, or why I'd left the bed at all. I stood there for a while, then walked into the kitchen and sat on the floor. There was nothing out of place, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd interrupted something I hadn't meant to start. That was the first incident. I bought a lock the next day, a sliding one high up on the door. I live alone, so there was no reason not to. I needed a physical barrier, something visible, something I could check before sleeping. The presence of that lock gave me 3 quiet nights. The fourth, I woke up on the kitchen floor. The door was still locked. My feet were dirty. There was a single fork in the middle of the room, upright, its handle balanced on the tile. I sat in a chair until sunrise. I stopped drinking coffee. I stopped drinking anything. I cut screens 2 hours before sleep. I bought blackout curtains, earplugs, weighted blankets, white noise, melatonin. Nothing worked. I downloaded a sleep tracking app, one that records sound throughout the night. I positioned the phone next to my bed, screen down, microphone aimed at the pillow. The next morning I listened. 6 clips. All around 3 a.m. The first 3 were quiet, just the rustling of sheets. The fourth was different. A loud creak, the bed springs shifting, my voice. Not now. Silence. Then a slow, dragging sound, as if something heavy brushed across the floor. Clip 5, breathing, not snoring. Open mouth breathing, rhythmic, shallow. Not mine. Clip 6, metal clinking. Then, the recorder cut off. I moved the phone closer the next night. This time it caught video too. I set it against the nightstand propped up by books. When I checked the footage, I saw myself sit up straight at 3:11 a.m. My eyes were open. I said nothing, just sat, staring ahead. Then I stood up and walked out of frame. 5 minutes later I returned. Something metallic glinted in my hand. I fast-forwarded. I lay back down, arms crossed over my chest. The object rested on the blanket beside me. I didn't recognize it immediately. I bought a deadbolt. I added a second lock to the window, even though it didn't open properly. I shoved a dresser in front of the bedroom door. I put all the kitchen knives in a padlock toolbox. That night I woke up with the padlock on the pillow beside me. Unlocked. I booked an appointment with the sleep clinic. The wait time was 3 weeks. The receptionist told me I should try sleeping somewhere else in the meantime. Disrupt the cycle. Change the environment. I stayed with my brother. One night. That was enough. He lived in a loft, open plan. I slept on the couch. Around 2:30 a.m., he shook me awake. He said I was standing in the middle of the living room, fists clenched, arms straight at my sides, eyes shut tight. He asked what I was doing. I didn't answer. He watched me walk to the kitchen drawer, take out the corkscrew and press the spiral into my palm. Not hard enough to pierce, just enough to leave a mark. I remembered none of it. He drove me home the next morning, said he didn't want me there another night. I booked a motel room with no kitchen, slept on top of the sheets, no blankets, nothing under the bed, just a lamp, bolted to the wall, and a bathroom with no drawers. The next morning, the mirror was cracked, a hairline split running vertically from top to bottom. I had no wounds, no blood, no bruises. just a faint indentation across my collarbone, like a cord had been resting there. 2 nights before my sleep clinic appointment, I went to bed after checking every drawer, every closet, every possible surface. I wore gloves to sleep, tied my wrists together with a belt, locked the toolbox, hid the key in my car. At 3:18 a.m., I opened my eyes and saw the belt on the floor. There was a knife in my hand, not from my kitchen. This one had a wooden handle worn down, the blade short and square. I'd never seen it before. The toolbox was still locked. I didn't sit down. I didn't cry. I stood in the middle of the room until morning, holding the unknown knife by the blade. The sleep clinic took one look at my notes and scheduled an emergency observation. They wired me to machines. Heart rate, breathing, limb movement, eye motion, sound. They told me I screamed for 6 minutes. No words, just noise. Arms moving, fists opening and closing, legs kicking against the bed. Eyes closed the entire time. But the worst part, they said, was that my heart rate never changed. Completely stable, like I was asleep. They prescribed medication, strong stuff, sedatives. I filled it, took the pill, waited in bed. It worked. I slept through the night. The next morning, the knife with the wooden handle was gone, but the padlock was back, this time sealed to my wrist. No key. I checked the toolbox. Still locked. No damage. Every knife accounted for. I cut the lock with bolt cutters, went to the pharmacy, told them I needed something stronger. They gave me something stronger. I've taken it every night since. No more sleepwalking, no more new knives. But I don't sleep either. Not really. Now I just wait. I moved into the apartment in late October, 8th floor, south facing. The view wasn't much, just the backs of other buildings and a concrete courtyard, but it had a small balcony, and that felt like a luxury. I slept with the sliding door open the first night. Not all the way, just cracked. I liked the air, I liked the height. I grew up in a ground floor house, windows bolted, curtains drawn. This felt new. Like having options. 3 nights in, I woke up, standing, right at the threshold, 1 foot on the bedroom carpet, the other on the metal rail of the balcony track. My hands were clenched, jaw tight. I don't remember what dream I was having. I got back in bed and slept late. The next night, I shut the balcony door before sleep, locked it, closed the blinds just to be sure. No gaps, no drafts. I placed a pair of shoes against the track, heel to heel. In the morning, they were still there. I left them that way. 4 nights later, I woke up again. This time, both feet were outside. Not fully, just over the rail, on the cold concrete. My right hand was gripping the edge of the railing. My knuckles looked bruised. The blinds were open. I didn't say anything to anyone. I didn't have much to say. Sleepwalking happens. I read about it. It's common under stress. I had moved cities. New job. New floor. Maybe it was all just processing. I moved the bed farther from the door, not by much, just enough to make contact more difficult. I started wearing socks to sleep. Something to remind me I wasn't barefoot. I kept the blinds closed and clipped. No more incidents for almost a week. Then I woke up sitting on the balcony chair, legs crossed, eyes open, face turned toward the sky. I was shivering. The socks were gone. Back inside, I found them near the sink, wet. I started setting alarms every 2 hours, midnight, 2 a.m., 4 a.m. None of them caught me in the act. I would wake up, check the door, the shoes, the bed, everything untouched. But twice that week I woke up, outside again. Once, standing with my back to the railing, arms straight down, shoulders tight. Once, crouched, facing the window, like I had just come in or was about to go out. I bought one of those child-proof security bars, the kind that wedges into the track and blocks the sliding mechanism. It held for 2 nights. On the third, the bar was laid gently on the balcony floor, parallel to the glass. My footprints ran back across the doorframe. I made an appointment with my doctor. She asked if I had a history of parasomnia. I didn't. No trauma, no incidents, no medication. I told her I didn't dream, or at least never remembered. She gave me a prescription, but the pills made me foggy. I stopped after 4 days. My neighbor knocked the next morning, said she heard footsteps on the balcony. Her bedroom was directly beside mine. We shared a partition. She thought someone had broken in. I told her I hadn't noticed anything. The next night, I pushed my dresser against the door. Heavy oak, it took effort. I wedged towels underneath to block movement. Placed a glass on top, balanced on its rim. I woke up with my cheek pressed to the railing. The dresser hadn't moved. The glass was still on top. Towels still wedged, everything inside untouched. I took a cab to a hotel and stayed 2 nights. Ground floor, no windows that opened. The bed was too soft, the air too warm. I didn't sleep much. When I came back, I moved the mattress onto the living room floor, far from the balcony. Slept there for 3 nights, then 4. By the 5th, I started sleeping better. Not deeply, but without interruption. One morning, I went into the bedroom and found both balcony doors wide open. No breeze, nothing knocked over, just open. I slept on the couch that night, left the doors as they were. They stayed open for 2 days. Then it rained. Wind pushed one door shut. The other stayed stuck. After that, I stopped touching them. I left them ajar, slightly. Enough to see through, not enough to walk through. I stopped waking up on the balcony. Instead, I started finding objects moved. Small things. A spoon on the windowsill. My toothbrush on the floor. Phone unplugged. Lamps turned. Once, the bedroom chair was outside, placed neatly, facing inward. I folded the blanket, put it on the shelf, and started sleeping without it. I began stacking books against the door. Not for protection, just for proof. Alignment. Every morning I'd check the angles. Sometimes they shifted, sometimes they didn't. I never caught it happening. One night I fell asleep with the living room light on. I had left a notepad on the floor beside the mattress in the morning. There were pencil marks across it. Straight lines. Parallel. Spaced like floorboards. I threw it away. The following night, I put a new notepad in its place. No pencil, just the pad. In the morning, the pages were torn, not shredded, ripped in half and placed under the mattress. I didn't leave anything on the floor after that. 3 days later, the neighbor knocked again. She looked tired, said she heard knocking. Not from the hallway, but from the wall we shared. Light taps, rhythmic, like counting. I started sleeping with headphones in, no music, just white noise. I kept a cup of water next to me, untouched. 2 weeks passed, no balcony visits, no objects moved. Then one morning, I woke up in the stairwell, barefoot, 7th floor, sitting on the steps, facing up. I had locked the apartment door from the inside. Deadbolt chain, No signs of forced entry or exit. I moved the mattress back into the bedroom, removed the security bar, left the doors closed but not locked. That night, I slept through. The next morning, a potted plant I had forgotten about, something left by the previous tenant, was broken in two. The base remained. The upper half was gone. I found the other half out on the balcony, soil packed into the corner as if it had been pressed there with both hands. The railing had 2 handprints, wide, deep. The metal was slightly bent outward. I don't sleep much now, but when I do, I keep the doors open. I worked nights in a government building downtown. It wasn't the kind of job that asked much of you. 3 monitors, 1 desk, 1 chair. Keep the cameras rolling. Check the doors on your round. Don't fall asleep. The cameras were split across 3 floors. Main entrance, back hallway, stairwell, maintenance zones. Everything beige, everything tiled, motion sensors, fluorescent lighting, too bright during the day, too gray at night. Most nights were still. Some cameras caught rats near the trash zone, but otherwise, nothing. I had a routine, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., coffee at 10:30, patrol at midnight, another at 3 a.m. Rest of the time, I watched screens that never changed. It was late April when something shifted. I had just sat down for my midnight round. I remembered checking my badge back into the log, pouring the rest of the coffee out. One of the monitors switched, camera 1A, 3rd floor hallway, northeast wing. A man entered the frame from the far left. No one worked on the 3rd floor. It had been shut down for asbestos testing and retrofit 6 months prior. Empty rooms, covered furniture, sealed vents. The man walked slowly, no urgency. He wore a dark jacket, hands in his pockets. He didn't look around, just moved straight down the corridor until he passed the edge of the camera's view. I sat up, checked the time. 12:14 a.m. The motion sensor had triggered the camera, which looped in short bursts unless manually extended. I clicked to rewind. Let it play again. Same motion, same man, same pace. I scanned the entry logs. No recent access. No contractors. No one had signed in or out since 9:45 p.m. The elevators were locked from floor access unless approved from the console I sat at. I rewound the past 10 minutes of footage. The hallway had remained still, blank, until the man appeared from the edge. I toggled to adjacent cameras. Nothing. The camera covering the stairwell showed no activity. The maintenance cam showed only a flicker from the lights overhead. I stood, took my flashlight, used the console to unlock the stairwell door. I walked up 3 flights. The 3rd floor hallway was colder than the rest of the building. Not freezing, just off. The vents were open, which made no sense since the testing team had sealed them. No lights were on. I kept my flashlight low. The sound of my steps didn't carry. The hallway absorbed them. Floor tiles, but no sound. I moved down the corridor until I reached the far end. Empty. Room by room, I checked. Chairs stacked against the walls. Plastic tarps taped over furniture. No sign of recent entry. No footprints. No scuff marks. Just still air and the smell of plaster. Back at the desk, I rewatched the clip. The man didn't look at the camera. He didn't change pace. He didn't come back the other way. I left a note for the day staff, asked them to pull the archive footage. No one got back to me. The next night, I watched the hallway live. Nothing. No movement. The night after that, he appeared again. Same time, same camera, same motion. This time I watched every adjacent feed. No entry, no exit, no trace before or after. Just 10 seconds of him walking across the frame. I printed the still, took a picture of the monitor, sent it to my supervisor. She told me to flag it for internal review. I flagged it. No follow-up. 2 nights later, he was back, 12:14 a.m., on the dot. Except this time he paused halfway through the corridor. Didn't look up, just stopped. I watched the seconds tick by. He stood still for 21 seconds. Then he kept walking. Out of frame. I went up immediately. Nothing there. After that, I kept the 3rd floor feed on one monitor permanently. On May 3rd, he appeared again. Same time. Paused longer. 35 seconds. Then walked on. May 4th, he didn't appear. May 5th, he returned. This time he stopped and turned. Not toward the camera. Toward the room on the left. It was marked 3N-6. Storage. He faced the door. Didn't move. He stayed like that for a full minute. Then left. I checked the room after my shift. Nothing but filing cabinets and one broken projector. On May 6th, he walked straight to the door without pause. Disappeared through it. The door never opened on camera. No gap. No break in the frame. I waited 5 minutes. Then 10. He didn't come back out. I walked up with the flashlight again. Room 3N-6 was locked. I had the override key. I opened it slowly. Every cabinet had been pulled open, papers stacked against the far wall. The projector was gone. The room smelled faintly like dust and metal. The following night, the feed from camera 1A went dark. Not static, not malfunction, just black. Maintenance couldn't find a reason. They replaced the hardware, rewired the connections. It stayed black. The room no longer appeared on the master floor plan. I asked the supervisor about it. She told me I was rotated to a different building starting next week. They reassigned my badge, deactivated my access. My last shift, I watched all 3 monitors. The 3rd floor feed stayed dark. But at 12:14 a.m., the motion sensor light registered activity. No image, no footage, just the indicator. One small green light, blinking.